सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Repeat after me. नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। So Ishavasya Upanishad, in the introduction last time we saw that this mantra is in this Upanishad is in the mantra portion in the 40th chapter of the Shukla Yajurveda Samhita. So many people think that it is meant for rituals and that there is no adhikari for this, there is no phala and there is no prayojan to study. And we saw last time those aspects that there is an adhikari. Yes, there may be less adhikaris for this because the adhikari for jnana is always much lesser in terms of self-knowledge also. So we saw who is an adhikari, one whose mind is not tempted by sense objects, one who does not get restless to work, one who does not have fanciful imaginations. That person is a jnana adhikari. Who is a karma adhikari? One who has strong sense of doership, jiva bhav, bhokta bhav. That person is a karma adhikari. So there is an adhikari, then there is a phala also. What is the phala? The destruction of avidya and its effects. That is the phala also is there. And subject, definitely subject matter is the Supreme Brahman. So that introduction we saw, and one good thing about this Upanishad is that, see, there are some people who consider only the Samhita portion, the Karmakand portion as the Veda. They don't consider the Brahmana, the Aranyaka, the Upanishad portion as the Veda at all. This Upanishad being in the Samhita portion is also called Samhita Upanishad. So that is accepted by both of them. Those who believe in this, only the Samhita portion as the Veda, they also will accept this Upanishad. The others also will accept. Only difference is that these people who accept it, they think it is meant only for chanting. Because it doesn't tell us to do anything. That's the only difference. Now, the word Upanishad itself, what is the meaning of the word Upanishad? So, first meaning is simple. Upa means near. Ni means down. To sit. To go down near and sit. Upanishad. So that is one meaning. Meaning to go to a teacher, sit at the feet of a teacher with humility and learn about the self. That knowledge is called Upanishad. It is not just going and sitting. It is sitting with the attitude of humility. There is no lock actually. That's why they will just open it. So Upanishad is to sit with the humility at the feet of a teacher and receive this knowledge with openness, ready to drop the false notions and ready to understand what is the truth from the teacher. So the word Upanishad itself says that one has to learn it from a teacher. Go near and sit and learn. Why? Because the knowledge is subtlest. It is not something which is easily perceptible. To the body, to the mind and to the intellect, it is not perceptible. So that which is beyond body, mind, intellect is pointed out to us by the teacher. So one meaning is that to go down near and sit. Meaning with the attitude of complete humility. To the extent I have humility, to that extent knowledge will come. There's a Subhashita which says, Vidya dadati vinayam. Knowledge brings humility. That is one part. And humility also brings knowledge. In the 13th chapter of the Gita, when Bhagavan is explaining what is Jnanam, the first value there is Amanitvam. Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, Ahimsa, Kshanti, Arjavam. That is a list of values which Bhagavan says, Etad jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. This is knowledge, rest is all ignorance. So humility is the first thing. And what is the meaning of humility? Ego must be minimized. One who has minimized the ego, that person can learn Upanishad. With a great, strong ego, I may learn the Upanishad, but it will be informative knowledge. Like the example of donkey carrying the golden bricks. It will be like that. The donkey doesn't know what is the value of that golden brick. For the donkey, it is only a weight. Same weight. So ego has to be much, much lesser. So the preparation that we spoke about last time, Jnana Adhikari, in the other way, if you see, it is the ego has become less. My craving for self-importance has become less. One student, he went to the monastery to learn. His own teacher sent him, you go to another monastery, go to this and this place, there is a great master there, go and learn this knowledge of the self from that master. So he went. At the end of the first month, he wrote one letter saying, I am feeling so inspired, so thrilled, this knowledge is extremely wonderful, it makes me feel so divine. He sent it. Master here read, tore it, threw it away. Second month, another letter came. I am so blessed to have a teacher like that, such and such person, and in the presence of that person, I feel expansion. I feel my little ego has dwindled away. There is such a vast expanse of light in which I am drowning. The master tore it away. Then, after 2 months, third letter comes that I experienced that the self in me is the self in all. There is no difference at all. There is only one truth which pervades everything. Please allow me to come back. I have realized that self. Master tore it and threw it away. After 1 year, after that next 1 year, no letter came. So the master sent somebody from here to find out what happened to him. So the disciple sent a letter back, reply, who cares? That's all. That was his reply. Did you understand? Who cares? Matlab, as long as this small I is there, this fellow will keep on thinking, I am this, I am that. That small I went. Now who cares? It is not there only. Humility is that state where that small I doesn't need any recognition, no nothing. Then only that dissolution happens and realization happens. Once a person experiences silence, what will that person even speak? Will not even report back, I have realized this truth. No master came back to tell I have realized the truth, to proclaim to the world. It happened on its own, that's a different matter. One who experiences silence, Ramana Maharshi didn't come back and proclaim to the whole world, look, I have realized the truth. Nothing. People found out on their own, oh, here is a great master. So humility means no recognition, no craving, no self-importance. That attitude, with that attitude one goes to the teacher. If that attitude one has, then see, if ego is less, so many other issues which are connected to the ego, will they bother? Temptations will not bother. Attachments and aversions will not bother. What is happening in the world will not bother. What my fellow batchmates are talking about me, what is happening, in the other ashrams, nothing. So that attitude with which one goes to the teacher, that I want Brahma Vidya alone. So that is Upa, means near. Ni means down, or Ni also means Nitaram. Nitaram means with determination. With great determination, one sits there, ki I want to know the truth, I want nothing else in this world. That is called Mumukshutvam. When a person finds a Sadguru and goes to that Sadguru with that attitude, that except moksha, I want nothing else. In bhakti language, it is called Ananya Bhakti. Not I want money, power, position, name, fame, and I want God also. No, I want God only. With that firm determination, and what is the price to be paid for that? I am ready to pay the price. Any tapasya I can go through. I told you the story of the king and the pigsty. Some of you forgot, or maybe somewhere else you must have heard. Anyway, doesn't matter. Once again we can reflect. So this king wanted to know the truth. He went to the teacher. The teacher said, if you want to know the truth, you have to leave your kingdom and come and stay in the ashram. He said, yeah, I can stay in the ashram. He said, but where you have to stay is there. That's a pigsty. The king said, no. I can leave the kingdom, I can leave the palace, but I cannot stay at the pigsty. Teacher said, that's all, then you go. The king went. He ruled for another 6 months, but again came back saying, I really want to know the truth. I will stay outside, doesn't matter, but not in the pigsty. He said, my condition is you have to go and stay in the pigsty. Went back. After another 6 months, he came, but he didn't come to the master. He went straight to the pigsty. And the master called him, come. Go and stay there. There he saw one kutia was already built for him. He said, but you told me to go and stay in the pigsty. He said, I am not testing you whether you will stay in the pigsty. I am testing what are you willing to give up for the sake of the truth. Are you ready to drop anything that is required? So that determination has to be there, that what is the price to pay for the truth, I am ready to pay. With that attitude one goes. So this is the first meaning of the word Upanishad. To go and sit at the feet of a teacher with humility and determination to know the truth. One meaning of the word Upanishad. Now this word Sad has three different meanings in the Sanskrit language. So the word Upanishad is made from the dhatu Sad. So the dhatu Sad, Upa plus Ni and Sad, when it is joined together it becomes Shad, Upanishad. But if you see the root, it is Sad. So Sad dhatu has three meanings. So first meaning of the word Sad is Visharana. Visharana means to destroy. What will it destroy? Samsara Bija. Shankaracharya ji has given this commentary in Kathopanishad introduction, where he gives this description. So where he says that Samsara Bijasya Himsanad Visharanad Vinashad destroys the seed of samsara. What is the seed of samsara? Ignorance. This is that knowledge which destroys the seed of samsara. Which means this is not something which will just bring relief. It will destroy the root cause. So this is the first meaning. Please remember, Upanishad does not mean a book. Many people think it is book. Like they think Veda also is a book. That is strange, you know. If I ask physics, is it a book? What will you say? No, it is science. But Veda, is it book? Yes. Contradictory. Veda also is knowledge only. Same way, Upanishad is not a book. Upanishad means Brahma Vidya. That is expressed through the book that we have. So first meaning is that knowledge which will destroy the root cause of sorrow, samsar, which is avidya. This is the first meaning of the word Sad. Second meaning of the word Sad, Visharana is the first meaning. Second meaning of the word Sad is Gati. Means to speed up. So Shankaracharya ji says Brahma Gamayati. It speeds up our evolution. To realize Brahman in our own heart as my own true self. That I am not this body, mind, intellect, I am that pure consciousness. That knowledge which helps me to realize my true nature, which speeds up my evolution, that knowledge is Upanishad. So Gati means to speed up. Till the first human life, we get the body by the push of Prakriti. We cannot speed up evolution. In the human body, we get the Buddhi, which is the Sukshma Buddhi. Through Vivek and through self-awareness, we can come to realize the absolute truth. So that's how it speeds up. And with such a Buddhi, when I am prepared, when I have come to the teacher, I gain the knowledge, realize the truth. So, Gati. And third meaning is Avasadan. Avasadan means to loosen bondage. Shaithilya padanena. It will loosen the bondage. Before it destroys it, our bondage becomes shaken up, loosened. Meaning the sense of doership, enjoyership reduces. Ego, self-importance, all that reduces. This knowledge by itself also has that power. Apart from whatever preparation we do in terms of karma yoga, etc., this knowledge itself will help to loosen before it goes on to destroy. So these are the three meanings of the word Upanishad. And now the word Ishavasya. Now Ishavasya came from where? So the first mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad says Ishavasyam idagam sarvam. So the Upanishad is from that Ishavasya Upanishad. Sometimes one also calls it as Ishopanishad. Isha means the Lord. Vasyam means pervades. The Lord who pervades the whole universe. The knowledge about that Supreme Lord is the Ishavasya. And how to realize that Supreme Lord, that is the Ishavasya Upanishad. So many Upanishads we find that the Rishi's name is not there. Rishi has not even bothered to put his name, because if you remember, we saw that the Rishis are not the authors of the mantras, they are the seers of the mantras. So they are not mantra karta, they are mantra drashta. So mantra is revealed to them. And these Rishis who are so pure and subtle, when they don't have an ego, they don't want any name. So who is the Rishi to whom the Ishavasya Upanishad was revealed? No idea. In some Upanishads we know the Rishi, like Katha Upanishad revealed to Kathaka Rishi. But the Rishi himself, or the Rishi is not proclaiming that I am the Rishi and I have discovered and give credit to me, nothing. So somebody may say, but then how he just... So it is like that, no? When Aryabhatta or Newton, to them it is revealed, law of gravity is revealed to them. They have not invented it, they have discovered it. So the knowledge has already been existing. And in the Vedic literature, it is so... Now again, that's where the matter of Shraddha is, that this Upanishad will reveal to this particular Rishi only, in every creation. Yeah, so Kathak Rishi only it will reveal. Like in every creation, there will be a Valmiki who will write Ramayana. Every Kalpa. Right now there is a 28th Kalpa of Kali Yuga going on. So Ramayana happens in every Kalpa. Like that, these mantras are revealed in every Kalpa. So Gayatri mantra will be revealed to Vishwamitra Rishi only. Every Kalpa there will be one Vishwamitra Rishi who will come. In that way, quite a bit is predestined already. That's why these are all matters of Shraddha. Now you cannot prove it. When this cycle of Brahmaji will get over, then Hanumanji will become the next Brahmaji. That's also decided. So, Ishavasya Upanishad is the Upanishad which speaks about the Supreme Lord who pervades the whole universe. And that is why it is called Ishavasya Upanishad. Now many people think that this Ishavasya Upanishad is very random mantras. There is no thought flow in this. Many who have studied the Upanishad, they who have given commentaries on this also, they also say that. And I've heard some of the people in the mission also saying that. There is no thought flow here. Gurudev's commentary already he has given properly that what is the thought flow. It flows in 7 waves. What are the 7 waves? The first mantra is the first wave, which speaks about the highest state. The person who is the purest in the mind will discover this state. The instruction is for the Uttam Adhikari, that contemplate on that Supreme Lord and pervade the entire universe by that Lord. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. So this is the highest state for the Uttam Adhikari, the best Adhikari. That who is so pure, what we saw, no? Jnana Adhikar, one who has, now only thing that person has to do is I want to contemplate on the self. Except contemplation, nothing else that person needs to do, that person will realize the truth. 4 types of disciples are there. Swami Shivananda used to tell 4 types of disciples. The best type of disciple is like petrol. So the petrol, as soon as it comes in contact with air, it will evaporate. Petrol. The Uttam Adhikari is like that. Little bit steady contemplation will realize, because Vasana pressure is less, ego is less, comes to the teacher with full qualification, realize. Second type of student is like the twig, dry twig. That dry twig, you have to put little effort and it will catch fire. So he is a Madhyam Adhikari. For that, Madhyam Adhikari is the second mantra, which is Kurmanneveha Karmani Jijivishe Chatagam Samaha. So that is for the person who has to prepare the mind and do Karma Yoga. So this Karma Yoga will prepare that person for this highest state. So the highest state is realized only when this person has done preparation. So Madhyam Adhikari. Madhyam and Manda also. The third category is the Manda Adhikari. Who is that Manda Adhikari? He is like the charcoal. First is like petrol, second is like dry twigs, and third is like charcoal. So this charcoal, one has to put efforts to light it, and after some time what will happen? The ash of that charcoal will cover the very fire. Fire will become dull and smoke will start coming. So one has to fan. Yesterday you must have seen that in the beginning it was happening. The fan was there on that side, air was coming from top this side. So that smoke kept increasing. Then once you fan it up, again the fire will become bright. Or you put ghee, it will become bright. So the Madhyam Manda Adhikari is like that. The guru has to put great amount of effort. The disciple also has to put effort. But some vasana pressure and again desire will take over. Again vasanas will play. Again mind will become extrovert. Again the guru has to put effort and pull that fellow back. The fourth type of disciple is the Adham Adhikari. Is the worst. That fourth type of disciple is like the stalk of a plantain tree. That stalk of a plantain tree has so much water that if you try to light it, it will put out the fire only. The guru has to be very careful of such disciples. They will pull the guru only down. If the guru is not realized, gone. Instead of the guru and chela going up, guru and chela both will go down. But here the Ishavasya Upanishad Rishi is very clever, very clear. He is already realized the truth. So the third mantra is for that Manda Adhikari. Not Manda, sorry, Adham Adhikari. Third mantra is for the fourth type of disciple, Adham Adhikari. Actually what it says, it's a warning. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrata. That such a person who is not doing karma yoga, who is not contemplating, what will happen to that person? Who has become fully indulgent, who lives a vicious life, sensuous life, immoral life, even if it is not immoral, fully steeped in indulgence. No other goal in life, only enjoyment. Bhagavan says that person goes to the world of darkness, and that person is called person who is committing suicide. Yeke chatmahano janaha. The third is meant for that. Who? This person is committing suicide. So technically speaking, there are only two. Either we should do Karma Yoga or we should do Nididhyasan. If either of these two we are not doing, then what happens? We are destroying our potential. So first three mantras are the three waves. Then the fourth wave is from the mantra number 4 to mantra number 8. This is all the nature of the self. On what should I contemplate? The first mantra said contemplate on the self. What is the nature of that self? That is revealed in the mantras 4 to 8. So the nature of self is revealed in that. That how is that self in my own true nature? That is revealed 4 to 8. Now somebody says, but if I am not yet ready for that, karma yoga I am doing, but what is the place of this karma and upasana? See, this confusion always remains. Gurudev has given that in his introduction also. Should I live a life of complete renunciation, or should I live a life of complete action and service? What should I do? That question always is there. Sometimes we feel that no, action is the solution. Act. Sometimes we get fed up with action, saying enough of all this, I just want to sit quietly and meditate. Individuals as well as nations as well as the world goes through different cycles. Right now we are in which cycle? We are in the end of that material cycle, as though so much of work, enjoyment, one gets stressed, burnt out, exhausted, fatigued, but not yet ready for Brahma Vidya. So what to do? So karma, there are different combinations. Karma and upasana, they are the preparations. Karma means to do work and upasana means to make the mind quiet, single pointed. Different combinations of these are discussed in the fifth wave, which is from mantra number 9 to 12. Actually 14, not 12. 9 to 14. This 9 to 14 are combinations of karma and upasana. Very confusing are the 6 mantras. But if you listen with alertness and understand properly, there is no confusion. It's superb clarity. That what kind of combination we should have to prepare ourselves for knowledge. Karma, upasana, upasana. 3 types of combinations. When a person understands this properly, no confusion at all. And one will very clearly know, okay, I am at this stage right now. From here I have to go to this. Upanishad makes it very, very beautiful and clear. And it also happens that many times we fall backwards also, no? So I may be in a upasana's level, but some vasana pressure, something happens, I may fall. Again I have to do karma level. So once I know from beginning to end all the steps on the journey, wherever I am, accordingly I have to move forward. It's not going to happen that always the movement only will be in one direction. Because if that happened, though, it would have been best. We would have realized very fast. We go forward, again come back, again go forward, again come back, get distracted also, again come back. So many things happen. So Upanishad makes it very clear. These are the steps. Now you apply according to your level. This buffet dinner system, now Upanishad had before only. It is not that everybody has to follow one thing only. You choose. Now this is the whole spectrum. Now you choose according to where you are, follow. So mantra 9 to 14 is that. Then comes mantras 15 to 17. Now both the teacher and student invoke the self within. It's literally actually a call to the human being that this is the glorious self within. Come on, realize the self. That is 15 to 17. And the 7th and the last one is mantra 18. Now this mantra 18 is a prayer to the truth. Agni Naya Supatharaye. That, oh Agni, you please lead us through the right method to realize the absolute truth. 18 mantras. Now, two different versions of this Upanishad are there. They are called recension. So one is the, if you see in your book, take so the page number 63, if you see on page 63, the third paragraph, Gurudev says Ishavasya Upanishad has two recensions, Kandva and Madhyandina. The two recensions meaning two different versions are there. In the Kandva recension, there are 18 mantras, which is what we are just seeing. In the Madhyandina recension, there are only 15 mantras. Now you may say, which one is correct? Both are correct. They are revealed at different points in time to the rishis, and at some point only 15 are compiled. At some place there are 18 which are there. So Vedavyas ji has accepted both. We don't have to worry. Which one should I take? 15 should I take or 18? Whichever you take, realize the truth. That's all. How does it matter? Those who want to do this scholarly thing, ये 15, यहाँ पे 18, ये इसके कारण 15, ये इसके कारण 18, let them do. They have a reason to do. Who wants to realize the truth, what they have to do? Take the mantras, meditate, know the truth. That's all. Take 18, so there's nothing lost out. Gurudev has taken all the 18 and he has given the commentary. So now this is the basic introduction of the word Ishavasya Upanishad and then the thought process of Ishavasya Upanishad. Now comes the Shanti Mantra. The Shanti Mantra is, why do we chant a Shanti Mantra? Always a teacher and a student, before they start Upanishad class, they will chant the Shanti Mantra. Why will they chant the Shanti Mantra? Because the minds of all people, when they come to class, is scattered. Somebody has come from office, somebody has come from work, somebody from college, somebody has fought with somebody and come. Different things are there. Each one's mind is scattered. And what are we trying to realize here? That which is beyond the mind. So how will I know that which is beyond the mind? I have to tune up to that which is beyond the mind. So if all the minds have to tune up properly, the teacher and the student has to tune up properly, they have to connect to a common source. And that common source is the Lord. So when the teacher tunes up to the Lord, student tunes up to the Lord, it is the Lord's grace which flows through both. The mind of the student also becomes quiet. Mind of teacher also is quiet. The knowledge flows from the Lord to the teacher. As a role of a teacher, the knowledge flows from the teacher. As a role of a student, the student becomes more receptive. And then the communication which has happened is not from the words to the ears, not from the lips to the ears. It is from the heart to the heart. So that tuning of the heart happens only through Shanti Mantra. So Akhandanand ji has given very nice commentary on this, introduction to the Shanti Mantra, where he says that there are 5 states of the mind. The first state of the mind is Kshipta, which is, Kshipta means literally thrown, meaning the mind is thrown into the world of objects. There is a lot of rajas. Extrovertedness is there. So the mind is outside, scattered, vikshipta it is, divided. Even while sitting here, the mind must be thinking. Very serious lecture. कोई joke नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. I should have heard on Zoom only. At least I could see something on Netflix parallelly. I am not joking. There are enough people who are doing all that. People think I don't know. They have an Excel sheet open, they are working and listening to Ishavasya Upanishad. Saving time, you see, modern world. multitasking, answering WhatsApp. Yeah, Tattvamasi, correct, yeah. They're doing it. There's no jokes about it. That's why when I do a Zoom session, Vivek Chudamani and all this, I put off the videos of everybody. Video is not allowed, even in this video is not allowed. Because if video is put on, Brahma Vidya, to one will not listen. Each one what they are doing now, one will be interested in seeing that. And their audio and video both is off because suddenly one cooker whistle will go on. Suddenly somebody doorbell is on. Suddenly one fellow gets up and goes to open it. Somebody is sitting with the dog, so the dog is also sitting and reading. And somebody is lying down on the bed and seeing, you can see the pillow. I have seen all that. I am not talking just like that. So after the first experience, I said, shut everybody's video. Instead of people focusing on Brahma Vidya, they are focusing on who is doing what. They call Kshipta. Mind is all thrown everywhere. Is listening to one part of the mind is listening. Every other part is everywhere else. There will be a lot of people who are identifying with that now, those who are listening. Upanishad Shravan has to happen with single pointedness. It cannot happen doing multitasking, please. Because if I listen with a prepared mind, realization is then and there. When we are trying to go beyond mind, beyond time, we are realizing the Supreme Self. At that time, we cannot have any other thought. No, I have to finish this, I have to submit this, I have to email this, I have to reply this. That all has to be put aside. But mind is mind. So first is as a Kshipta Avastha, where it is thrown into so many things, mind is scattered. Second, he says, is Moodha Avastha. Moodha Avastha means deluded. It is Tama Pradhan. So there is lot of alasya. This word alasya comes from the root lasati means to shine. That which does not shine is dull. So it's called alas. From alas comes alasya. And in Sanskrit, la and ra can become interchanged in certain cases. So ras also is las. Ras means that Garba Ras dance, no? That also is las, where the Lord shines. The objective of the Ras Leela Bhagwan did. The greatest Leela, Vivekananda said, the greatest deed of Lord Krishna is not Mahabharat war. The greatest deed of Shri Krishna is the Ras Leela. Because there he revealed his true self to all the gopis. Beautiful it is, that Ras Leela Prasang in Bhagavatam is very nice. So, Ras and Las. So, Ra and La can be interchanged. So, Alas is actually Aras, where there is no Rasa. There is no interest, dullness, laziness, lethargy. One doesn't feel like doing anything, very careless. When we give homework, the mind says, नहीं करना है, हम तो directly सुन लेंगे, commentary क्यों पढ़ना है? Procrastinate, careless, doesn't want to read. Alas. They are called Moodha Avastha. Kshipta Avastha is scattered. Moodha is deluded. In this deluded state, nothing will go inside. If mind is deluded, nothing goes inside. And the state of delusion is also this, where the wrong is perceived as the right. The right is perceived as wrong. That's called moha, delusion. So, this is Tama Pradhan. The third is Vikshipta Avastha. Now, Vikshipta is again Rajas, but it has little more Sattva. So the mind is divided, distributed, scattered, but much more sattva than kshipta avastha. So the mind is able to at least focus little more. Now these three states, see, in this vikshipta avastha, though sattva guna is there, the mind is still divided. Memory and retention are weak. In the kshipta avastha, memory and retention is not possible only. In vikshipta, memory and retention are there, but very, very weak. Now, why do I need memory and retention? Because Vedanta is a logical, sequential thought process. You just saw no 7 thought waves. And I have to build on my understanding so that when the understanding is clear, then when I contemplate, I can go beyond. If the understanding only is not clear, then how will I meditate? How will I realize Brahman? So memory has to be there to retain the thought process. Please remember, I am not saying retain and mug up all the mantras only. Mantras, if I can remember, great. But at least the thought process, that this leads to this, leads to this, that whole thought process I should retain. Otherwise, you see many people, they study Vedanta for years together, but they don't remember only. So even if the Upanishad is telling something, because the earlier thing is clean slate, when the Upanishad tells something, impact of it is not there. So memory and retention are very, very important. It's called Smriti and Dharana. So Smriti and Dharana Shakti must be strong. Now in these 3 states, when the mind is in these 3 states, that is why Shanti Mantra is required. If the mind is in these 3 and if one listens to the Upanishad, it is not possible to understand the Upanishad. So if I am not understanding the Upanishad while I am listening or even when I am reading the commentary, it will be because of these 3. Any of these 3 or a combination of these 3. So what is the solution? Our culture doesn't condemn anybody, doesn't look down on somebody saying, you are a kshipta or you are a mudha or you are a solution, vikshipta. It gives a solution. See, Bhaj Govindam also, no? Shankaracharya ji says, Mudha jahihi, O deluded fool, drop it. Or in the first shloka he says, no? Govindam bhaja mudha mate, O deluded fool, think of Govind. So solution is given. The solution is chant the Shanti Mantra. Now what is the 4th state? 4th state is Ekagra. To get out of these 3 states, Shanti Mantra can be chanted. And the state of Ekagrata is single pointedness. So single pointedness, where the mind listens with that, what we spoke earlier, no? With firm determination. Nothing else one wants. No, Swami, but we want many other things. We are living in the house. At least while sitting here, drop everything else. At other times, I may have other things to do as my duty. That's a different thing. But at least while sitting here, one should listen to it with what attitude? Like how Janak Maharaj, when he was sitting in front of his teacher, nothing else mattered to him. Mithila is on fire, but his mind is here. That single pointedness, ekagrata. This state is sattva pradhan. Lot of sattva guna brings this state. So through the daily life, if I am cultivating sattva guna, then when I am sitting here, I can invoke that sattva and then focus fully. And the 5th state then is niruddha. Is the state where one has withdrawn the mind from all the external pleasures, objects, people, everything. What is there in this state? Samskar pradhan it is. Means only the samskar is there. One has withdrawn from the desires, thoughts, action, results, all that. Only samskar. What we experience in the deep sleep, unconsciously, that is experienced in this state consciously. So this is also the avastha of samadhi. So Akhandananji says Upanishad Shravan has to happen in these two states only. Think about it. Swamiji, only these two states? See, that is what the Shastra is saying. That if in these two states one listens to the Upanishad, realization will be instant. Ekagravastha and Niruddhavastha. If the person is not doing the Shravan in these two states, then one has to first bring the mind into these two states, either of these two. How it will happen in Niruddhavastha? Because that person is so single pointed and withdrawn the attention that if the teacher says Tattvamasi, there only the person will realize. So that's the state the teacher is talking about. That you are. It's not a informative verbal dialogue. When that student has withdrawn fully and teacher says Tattvamasi, what remains when you withdraw attention from BMI? That you are. Tattvamasi. Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, when he has withdrawn his mind from everything and only Mother Kali's form. Last week I was in Kolkata, so I went to Dakshineshwar temple. One Brahmachari Divakarji, he is posted now in Kolkata. He is very well versed with all these because he was in Ramakrishna Mission serving there before. So this time when I went with him, he showed me all these places. It was so beautiful. Because I have read this in my youth days when I was in college. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna was one of the very, very important books that transformed my life. That if a human being can realize this truth in this life, in this way, then what are we running behind? So that book was a big, what they call in today's language, game changer. It changed my game. All plans which I had, I dumped them. So I've read those things in my childhood, my youth. This is the place where, he used to go on the terrace and he used to call out, where are my disciples? When are you coming? He used to ask Mother Kali, where are my disciples? Then he is another great master in whose life he did not go searching for any guru. Guru only came. When he was ready, the guru came. When Brahmani came, and from Brahmani he learnt 64 types of Tantra. And he mastered 64 types of Tantra. And there is one Panchamundi Asan in Tantra. So there is a place there, in Dakshineshwar temple only, if you go there, Panchamundi Asan Sthal is there. The tree is there where he practiced these 64 Tantra practices. Like that, there is a hut where Totapuri Maharaj has initiated him into Nirgun Nirakar. So that hut is also there. It's in a place called Panchavati. So in that Panchavati is that place. So there, Samadhi Avastha, he is withdrawn his attention from everything, only the form of Mother Kali. And then Ramakrishna is told by Totapuri, you pierce that form of Mother Kali, take the sword from the hands of Mother Kali and cut her form. Mentally, 3 days time he does it. Totapuri Maharaj cannot believe. He said, what I have taken many years to do, you finished in 3 days. Stunning. So that is called Niruddhavastha, where in that state when one has withdrawn completely, then the guidance of the teacher happens. Now all our doubts will be, how will that person listen? You see? Human being will ask that doubt. If he has withdrawn from body, mind, intellect, if the guru speaks something, how will the person listen? Then the attention comes down. No, that's why I said it is the tuning, heart to heart. Guru is antaryami. From within the prerana comes, do this now. The Bhagwan only is inside sitting. So we don't have to worry about all that logical issues. We don't have to bother. If your attention aa gaya body par. Nothing. In Niruddha Avastha it will happen. So ekagravastha and niruddhavastha, these are the two best states to listen to the Upanishad. Now to bring us to ekagravastha, what do we have to do? Chant the Shanti mantra. So the different types of Shanti mantras which are there. Some types of Shanti mantra are prarthana, prayer. So it is a prayer to the Lord, asking the Lord, please bless me by tuning up my equipments. So the Shanti mantra before Kenopanishad in Samaveda, the Shanti mantra is Apyayantu mamangani. O Lord, please keep my limbs healthy and hearty. Vak pranas chakshu shrotram atho balam indriyani. My speech, my prana, my eyes, ears, all of them may they be healthy. So one type of Shanti mantra is a prarthana. Another type of Shanti mantra is a stuti. Stuti is praise. See, even Sahanavavatu is a prayer. O Lord, Sahanavavatu, may you take care of us. Sahanav bhunaktu, may you nourish us. May you protect us, may you nourish us. May we put efforts together. Sahaviryam karva. So it's a prayer. Some is like a stuti, where we are praising the Lord. To a certain extent, it is Shanno Mitraha. In that also prayer comes. Or it is like Yash Chandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha. That's a stuti of Omkar. That Omkar, you are the Yash Chandasam Rishabho. You are the essence of the entire Veda. Chandobhyo Adhyamritat Sambhabhuva. So it's a stuti. See, it can have a combination also. A Shanti mantra can have a combination of prayer plus stuti. That also is possible. And third is Swarup Darshan. Is pointer of the self. Is Purnamada Purnamidam is a Swarupa. It is not a praise. It is not a prayer. One can call it as a praise of Purnata if one wants to. But otherwise it is pointing that there is only Purnatvam, that is our nature. It's a pointer. So there are different types of these Shanti mantras which are there. Now, one important thing is, every Veda has one main Shanti mantra. So the Upanishads of that Veda will follow that Shanti mantra. There may be other Shanti mantras also in the Veda, in that Veda, but one main Shanti mantra will be there for that one Veda, which one will follow. So this Atharva Veda Shanti mantra is Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha. Samaveda is Apyayantu mamangani. Yajurveda is, two are there actually. Mainly it is Shanno Mitra which is used. And we are saying this is in Shukla Yajurveda. So Purnamada Purnamidam also is there. So sometimes Rigveda is given this Purnamada Purnamidam. So Rigveda or Yajurveda, Purnamada Purnamidam may be utilized. I will confirm this Rigveda once again. I need to do little more research on the Rigveda. But as I said, there are different other Shanti mantras also which are there. There is one Vangme Manasi Pratisthita. Possibly that is Rigveda, but I will come back. I will confirm the Rigveda thing to you once again. So now this mantra, this Shanti mantra here for this Ishavasya is Purnamada Purnamidam. So let us chant that. Now see, I said no, Vedic mantras have intonations. In Chinmay Mission, when we are chanting the mantras of the Upanishads, we have not been following the intonations. We have been saying just like that. But I'm just saying that there are intonations. So what I will do is next class, I will give you the mantra with intonations. So that at least we learn with intonation. Like Sahana Vavatu also has intonations. But we chant happily in musical way, the way we want to chant. Actually, it is having intonation. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is with intonation. As much as we can, we should chant with intonations only. So Purnamada also has intonations. So today I will chant with intonation, just repeat. And the tradition is, Vedic tradition is listen once and repeat twice. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in this sh goes down, in the other one ta goes down. So this is the mantra. What is the meaning of this mantra? Om Purnam Adaha. Om is the single syllable which indicates the supreme truth. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Now please remember, Om does not have a form. As far as I know, in Vedic literature, there is no form given of Om. This form that you see here, human being, somebody has created. Om is Sagun Nirakar Upasana. That's why it's called Ekaksharam Brahma. Akshara Brahma it is. Now we have given some Akshara to it. If anybody finds a source of where the form is mentioned, come and tell me. From whatever little I know, I have not found description of Om as a form. As a sound, yes, Akara, Ukara and Makar. It's a Nada Brahma. It is a sound which is the rhythm of the whole universe. It is not produced by friction. Om and Atha are the natural sounds. So Om. And this mantra Om is the essence of the Veda. The subtlest mantra available is Om. And that's why not everybody is able to do the Omkar Upasana also. Omkar Upasana is there in Kathopanishad, in Taittiriya Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, many places it is given. But not everybody can do Omkar Upasana, because the longer the mantra is, more the easier it is for the mind to focus. 1. 2, many mantras will have form associated with it. Now this doesn't have a form, only sound. So the mind must have a lot of vairagya to do Omkar Upasana. And that's why if you see orthodoxy, they don't allow people to even chant Om. They will say who don't have adhikara should not chant Om. So instead of saying Om, what you should say? Hari Om. So Hari will make you ready and then you chant Om. I'm saying this because you may come across some places, some people will tell you don't chant Om. They have a reasoning behind it because it's upasana is subtle, because no form and only on sound I have to focus. So the essence of the entire Vedic knowledge is there in the Gayatri mantra. Essence of Gayatri mantra is in the 7 Vyahritis. So actual Gayatri mantra is Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. That's the actual Gayatri mantra. Then 7 Vyahritis are added to it, which are 7 special syllables to denote 7 worlds. So even when we do pranayam or even when we do the whole mantra chanting, one has to chant all the 7 with Om. Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Mahaha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. That is the full one. So in a puja, when we say do pranayam, when we hold, that time one has to chant this mantra. Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuva, Om Suva, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapa, Om Satyam, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Then release. Again take the breath, again hold, again. Either chant this mantra, and those who are trained, they will chant this mantra 7 times while holding, or they will chant Om 33 times. Then release. The capacity, one has to build that capacity. So the idea is that the 7 Vyahritis. So essence of Vedic knowledge is in Gayatri mantra, essence of Gayatri is in 7 Vyahritis. Essence of the 7 Vyahritis is there in the 3, Bhuhu, Bhuva and Suva. So many times we chant only the shortened version. Om Bhurbhuva Suvaha, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Now Om is added before Om Tat Savitur. If you listen to Brahmanandaji's chanting, I was supposed to send, but the thing is there is a CD, there's a pen drive called Stotramala, which is available online. You can buy it. In that all the stotrams of Brahmanandaji are there with the Gayatri mantra, Mrityunjay mantra, Om Namo Narayana, all that is there. So if you listen to that, in that Brahmanandaji has chanted it like that. Om Bhurbhuva Suvaha, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Because the mantra is starting from Tat Savitur. So Om is added there also. Now the essence of these 3 Vyahritis is in Om. So Om is like the homeopathy pill. If you know homeopathy pill, how it is made, that liquid which is there is highly concentrated liquid. So 1 or 2 drops of that liquid are put in that whole bottle. I don't know, they shake like that, but I always wonder, they have put the drop from the top. How will that bottom molecule that pill get it? They must have some logic. And then they will shake it and put it. Because it's very highly concentrated. I forgot now how it is. From a huge concentrated, still less. So potency of that is very high. So that way is Om. And hence Om is chanted before every mantra, because Om is also that which completes any mantra. Om is that which represents both Sagun Nirakar as well as Nirgun Nirakar. And Om is that which manifests as the whole universe also, because the whole universe is nothing but that sound vibration of Om. Om iti idagam sarvam. So Om represents the world, Om represents the truth, and Om represents that which transcends both the world and the truth, Ishvara and the Jagat, which represents that Supreme Brahman. So Om is the most powerful mantra. We should not take it lightly. When we know the sacredness of it and then we chant, it will bring that much of purity also, as well as it will tune up to the Lord. So Om. Purnam adaha. That, adaha means that. That is Purnam. Idam means this. This is Purnam. That is Purnam. This is Purnam. Purnat Purnam udachyate. From that Purnam, this Purnam is manifested. Udachyate. Purnat Purnam udachyate. From two times Purna is there. No, Purnat means from that adaha. Purnam means this. From that which is Purnam, this Purnam has manifested. Purnasya Purnamadaya. From this Purnam, if you remove the Purnam, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnamevava Shishyate. Purna only remains. So, when some people read this, they get very confused. That what is this? Purnamada, Purnamidam, but it's very, very powerful mantra. I will take up that in our next class. What was your homework last time? It was to read the commentary of Purnamada. You read? You read? How many of you read? See, 20% of the class has read. I told na, Mudha Vritti is like that. क्या फायदा, क्यों पढ़ेंगे? स्वामी जी तो वैसे भी बताने वाले हैं. Always read Gurudev's commentary before you come to the class. What he can talk, what he can explain, none of us can do any justice. His words are powerful. So before you come to the class, we should read his words and come. I also read his book only and come. Then do little more reflection here, but read his book first. So please read next time. I will do a quiz on it before. I'll pick up anybody. Chalo, answer karo. Next week onwards, many people will come on. I am capable of identifying on webinar also. I will call out name and say, Boliye. That facility is there, so don't think you can escape. Idea is what? For us to become more clearer on this knowledge. Any doubts in what we have done so far? We have 10 minutes in case you have any doubts. होमवर्क क्या है? ईशावास्य उपनिषद का जो शांति मंत्र है उसका कमेंट्री पढ़ना है. अगर आपने ऑलरेडी पढ़ा है तो वापस पढ़ो. आई एम नॉट गिविंग एनी न्यू होमवर्क because Purnamada will take time to explain properly. It's a very beautiful mantra. Yes. Yeah. Kshipta and Vikshipta. Vikshipta word generally we use as the mind is wandering. Because the meaning of the word also is that. Kshipta itself means wandering. So Vikshipta can be used in both ways. Some people use it as extreme wandering, or as it is said here, that it is a avastha better than Kshipta, because in the Kshipta avastha there is no sattva guna. There is only blind wandering and mind is running behind craving sense objects. In Vikshipta avastha there is wandering, but there is sattva guna. So to that extent the wandering is lesser. So in a Kshipta avastha, if there will be 100 thoughts, in Vikshipta avastha there may be 60 thoughts of objects. 40 thoughts may be of the subject I am listening. So see, that is where it is. Now Sanskrit language has the same word can mean different states also. Like the word Vinayaka. Vinayaka can mean leaderless. Vinanayaka, without leader. Or Vinayaka can mean one who is so great that nobody can lead him. He is the greatest leader. Vigneshwara can mean one who can put obstacles on your path also. Not only one who removes obstacles. Same word Vigneshwara has two contrary meanings. One who removes obstacle and one who puts obstacle. So Sanskrit language is like that. So in this context, Vikshipta means wandering which has sattva plus rajas. I think these 5 are given in Yoga Shastra. Are these 5 in Yoga Shastra? Maharshi Patanjali has given these 5. So if you want to know more details, you can read the Yoga Sutras. It will be there in that. I have not read the technical, the Yoga Sutra directly, but Akhandananda Maharaj, what he has explained, based on that I am just sharing here. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.